Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take a mess of source material and try to, well, make sense of it all, find some fascinating insight.
And today, we've got a story that really pulls you in. It starts out, well, almost strangely quiet, but it builds to something explosive.
Yeah, it's this really bizarre case involving low-caliber violence, which is odd in itself, but set against high society, toxic family dynamics, inheritance drama.
And horses. Let's not forget the horses. Beautiful, expensive thoroughbreds at the center of it all.
Right. We're diving into the world of 3 filly stables down in Lamar, Georgia. You know, one of those places where incredible wealth seems to just breed incredible dysfunction.
It really does. And what grabbed me right away from the sources wasn't just the attacks, but how they were done. I mean, who decides to shoot multi-million-dollar racehorses?
But even stranger, stable ponies, like, what's the point?
Exactly. And with a .22, a tiny little bullet, it's not efficient if you're trying to kill them. And why keep it up for a month? Sometimes injuring, sometimes killing. It just doesn't track with normal criminal motives.
It feels off. So our mission today is to unpack the investigation that Walter Clive started. He's the owner, the patriarchs, handsome, the whole package.
Right. He hires this outside detective who's basically our eyes and ears in the sources to figure out who's behind these strange attacks.
And we're looking for the logic, because there has to be some, right? Beneath what looks like just random senseless violence. Because as you start digging into this family, well, nothing seems accidental.
Oh, definitely not. The scene setting and the source material is fantastic. You've got Walter Clive tall, that deep tan silver hair.
The classic Southern gentleman look, almost.
Almost, yeah. Wearing the navy blazer, the 3 fillies crest on the pocket, linen trousers, and, crucially, burgundy loafers with no socks.
The no socks look. Says it all, doesn't it?
It screams a certain kind of casual power, like he's above the little rules.
And then there's his daughter, Penny. She's described as just as striking. Blonde, these incredible morning glory blue eyes.
And wearing white gloves. It's such a specific detail. It creates this image of perfect grooming, maybe even control.
It's a great visual pair. The powerful, casual father and the perfectly put together, maybe slightly formal daughter. And they're presenting this case, someone is terrorizing their horses.
Including the star, this young thoroughbred called Hugger Mugger. The buzz is huge. They're saying he could be the next Secretariat.
Which immediately raises the stakes, doesn't it? If someone's targeting him, maybe it is about competition or sabotage?
You'd think so. But Clive shoots that down. He insists nothing so crude as shooting the horse. And he points out, look, some of the victims were just barn ponies worth next to nothing. Why shoot them if it's about money?
Which feels, I don't know, a bit like misdirection. Like maybe he knows it's not some random outsider.
That's the feeling I got too. An immediate red flag. But then Penny drops the first real clue about the internal dynamics.
Yeah, the detective asks about Jon Delroy, the guy already doing security there. Clive says, oh, he'll cooperate.
But Penny just cuts in, flatly corrects her father, says Delroy will be absolutely goddamned livid.
Wow, not just annoyed, but livid.
Right. She knows. She knows bringing in an outsider is a direct threat to Delroy's position, his influence within the family.
And that tells you, right from the start, the problem isn't likely some random nut job outside the fence.
No. The rot, whatever it is probably coming from inside the house. Or at least inside the stables.
Okay, so Act 1. Let's really dig into these attacks. Because the method, like you said, it feels like it's sending a message.
Deputy Dalton Becker from the local sheriff's department, Columbia County, he laid out the initial facts. The sources say 3 confirmed attacks before the last incident. The one involving Hugger Mugger.
That last one was apparently just an attempt, right?
Yeah.
But it was enough to finally push Clive to get outside help.
Exactly. And the victims before that, it's a weird mix. First, a stable pony, just a regular barn pony, killed instantly.
Wow.
A single .22 slug, right through the eye socket. Clean, precise, but why a pony?
Makes no sense financially than the others.
2 valuable thoroughbreds. One shot in the neck survived, but it was dicey. The other shot in the shoulder. That one lived too, but its racing career. Over. Done.
So, for the expensive horses, it's injury, not necessarily death. But the pony gets killed instantly. It's inconsistent.
Very. But the one constant, the thing that ties them all together, is the weapon.
The .22 caliber long rifle round.
Always. 1 shot per horse. Deputy Becker noted this too. He found it strange. Why be so inefficient?
Yeah, let's pause on that because it is the absolute core question here, isn't it?
It really is. You have an animal potentially worth millions, and you use a .22. It's often called a plinking round, for target practice, small game maybe.
Not exactly the weapon of choice for taking down a 1,000-pound animal quickly or reliably.
Right. Why not a bigger rifle? A shotgun. Multiple shots. If you wanted to guarantee the horse was dead, this is a terrible way to do it.
Thus, killing wasn't always the primary goal.
Exactly. Maybe the goal was injury sometimes. Or maybe it was just about the act of shooting the horse, sending a message, creating fear, but doing it in a way that minimized noise, minimized risk to the shooter.
It feels more psychological, like terrorism almost, but on a very specific, localized scale.
Becker actually theorized that. He wondered if the point was simply shooting the horse, not necessarily killing it every time. It shifts the motive away from simple destruction towards something more performative or symbolic.
Which brings us neatly to the guy who was supposed to be stopping this, Jon Delroy.
Ah, Delroy. Trim guy, short hair, looks the part in some ways. He's got the Secret Service-style earpiece.
But then there's that detail.
The SS pin.
Yeah.
On his lapel, which is just bizarre. And as we find out later, deeply ironic given his actual background, he's presented as the supervisor for Security South, this Atlanta agency.
But Penny already warned us he'd be livid about the new detective. And he is.
Oh, immediately. He's suspicious, condescending. Right away, he tries to undermine the credibility of the last incident, the attempt on hugger-mugger.
He suggests the groom made it up.
Yeah, Billy Rice. Delroy hints maybe Rice fabricated the whole thing, seeing a gun barrel, hearing footsteps maybe for attention, or who knows what reason. Just pure cynicism.
But the sources paint Billy Rice very differently.
Completely. Rice comes across as genuinely devoted to hugger-mugger. He talks about the horse having the heart, that intangible quality that makes a champion. This isn't just a job for him.
He cares about the animal itself.
Deeply. He was so worried he'd actually taken to sleeping in the stall with hugger-mugger. That's when he heard the noise, saw the glint of a long gun barrel in his flashlight beam for just a second, then heard someone running away fast.
His testimony feels authentic, especially compared to Delroy's immediate attempt to dismiss it. It highlights the contrast between genuine care and, well, whatever Delroy and the family are up to.
And speaking of the family, the stable is named 3 Fillies after Clive's 3 daughters.
Right. We've met Penny, the sharp one, seemingly running the show already. She even tells the detective something like, "Daddy's not here, you're more fun anyway."
Which hints at her confidence, maybe her boredom with the official structures. She's clearly in charge of the day-to-day.
Then there are the other two. SueSue, who's married to a guy named Pud Potter, and Stonie, married to Cord Wyatt.
And we can't forget the other woman in Clive's life, Dolly Hartman, his girlfriend.
Described as having violet eyes. Another striking visual. And the source notes this immediate sense of intimacy between her and Clive, like they just belong together physically.
Her stated purpose is simple, keeping him happy. She seems focused entirely on Clive's needs, his comfort, almost like a professional role.
She's part of the package, the image, but then there's that little detail dropped in. She has a son.
Jason. Mid-20s. At this point in the story, it just seems like a background fact. Dolly's son from a previous relationship, you assume?
But you just know, in a story like this involving a huge fortune and complicated family ties, an extra potential heir, even one seemingly unconnected.
It's Chekhov's son. You know that detail is going to matter later. It's a ticking bomb under the surface of the seemingly stable, if dysfunctional, empire.
Okay, Act 2. This is where the focus really shifts. It stops being about who's shooting the horses and starts being about, well, the sheer dysfunction inside the Clive family.
Yeah, the investigation takes a hard turn into the family's closet, and it is full of skeletons. Remember, SueSue mentioned her father basically wanted sons-in-law to inherit. That's why he pushed for the marriages.
Right. So let's look at the candidates he got. First, Pud Potter, SueSue's husband. He's the VP for marketing.
VP for marketing sounds respectable, but the description paints a different picture. Pud is large, physically out of shape.
A heavy drinker. Penny's assessment is brutal. She says he manages to stay sober almost every day until lunch.
Ouch! And apparently he gets aggressive when he drinks. Tried to pick a fight with the detective right at the start.
So not exactly prime executive material.
Yeah.
And SueSue herself is pretty blunt about why she married him.
Yeah, she basically says Pud was what there was. He was available. And marrying him fulfilled her father's requirement. It wasn't about love or even suitability.
It really shows Clive's priorities, doesn't it? The appearance of having sons-in-law in the business mattered more than their actual character or ability.
Absolutely. Now, compare Pud to the other son-in-law, Cord Wyatt, Stonie's husband. He's the executive VP.
On the surface, Cord seems like the better bet. Quiet, reserved.
And significantly, not a heavy drinker like Pud. He presents as the more stable, more professional one.
But that surface impression just shatters, doesn't it?
Completely. SueSue, in a moment of stunning, perhaps malicious honesty, drops an absolute bombshell on the detective. She tells him Cord Wyatt prefers little boys.
Whoa, okay. That changes everything.
It reframes the entire family dynamic. It explains the tension in Cord's marriage to Stonie. SueSue suggests Stonie is deeply frustrated, sexually and emotionally, possibly acting out in desperate ways. The phrase used is she might be a threat to every doorknob.
Good grief, that's bleak. So we're way beyond just business rivalry or disgruntled employees now. This is deep, dark family pathology hidden by money.
And SueSue herself kind of embodies that mix of glamour and decay. Her visit to the detective's motel room is something else.
Tell us about that scene. It sounds wild.
She shows up unannounced, brings 2 bottles of expensive champagne and a bottle of Jack Daniels, covering all bases, I guess.
Ready for anything.
And she is incredibly direct, no preamble, just asks him, "You like to fuck too." She completely dismisses the idea of love, laughs at it,
Oh, wow.
and then she delivers that line that just sums up the whole family philosophy. We're all corrupt, drunks, liars, fornicators. For her, it's simple. Money makes the world go round, darling, and sex makes the trip worthwhile.
It's cynical, but brutally honest about her world. She confirms the marriages were transactions, all about daddy wanting male heirs.
Yeah, turning his daughters into breeding stock, essentially, to secure the dynasty. The corruption isn't just financial, it's emotional, moral, right at the core.
And the detective starts digging into Stonie's situation, the threat to every doorknob comment.
Right. He talks to a local madam, Polly Brown. She's connected, knows the town, and she's friends with Teddy Sapp, a former deputy we'll hear more from.
A madam as an informant. This case has everything.
Polly Sharp. She provides insight into Stonie. Apparently, Stonie was frequenting truck stops looking for sex.
Truck stops, not high-end affairs.
No. And Polly's take is fascinating. She believes it wasn't about money. It was likely about power. Or maybe revenge against Cord, or just a raw expression of feeling devalued and used herself. A way to feel something, maybe, by exploiting men in a really crude way.
The layers of dysfunction are just staggering. Everyone seems damaged and acting out in destructive ways.
And the person holding the lid on all this simmering mess, keeping the public face clean.
Jon Delroy,
Mm-hmm.
the security guy.
Exactly. Teddy Sapp, the ex-deputy, confirms the rumors about Cord Wyatt's pedophilia. Sapp says Cord was fighting it, but would relapse, usually seeking prostitutes in Augusta.
Okay, so it was known, at least to some.
Yes. And this is where Delroy earns his massive paycheck. His job wasn't preventing horse shootings, it was cleaning up after the family's catastrophic personal failures.
How so?
When Cord got caught by Vice in Augusta, Clive used Delroy to sort it out legally, make it go away, but then there was a much darker incident right there in Lamar.
What happened?
Cord apparently made a move on a local child, and Delroy stepped in again. This time, it wasn't just lawyers and money. The sources say Delroy used threats of physical harm against the child's family to ensure their silence. He buried it completely.
Wait, hang on. Threats of harm against the victim's family to cover up child abuse.
That's what the sources indicate. Delroy wasn't just a fixer using legal loopholes. He was allegedly using criminal intimidation, acting as Clive's enforcer to protect the family's reputation at any cost.
That's beyond hiring a good lawyer. That's engaging in criminal conspiracy to obstruct justice and silence victims.
It shows the level of rot. Clive wasn't just turning a blind eye. He was actively employing a criminal, Delroy, to violently suppress the truth about his own son-in-law. And Delroy also handled messes involving Pud, like his DUIs or drunken fights.
So Delroy has been the family's cleaner for a long time.
At least 10 years, according to the sources. Well before Pud even married SueSue. Clive had this arrangement in place for ages, relying on this fake security consultant, this actual criminal, to maintain the pristine image of 3 Philly stables.
And that dependency, that reliance on a man like Delroy, it creates a huge vulnerability, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It puts immense power in Delroy's hands. And as things unfold, it provides the perfect tool for someone else within the family to use for their own ends.
So just as the detective is starting to piece together this cesspool of family secrets, things escalate dramatically.
Yeah, the horse shootings suddenly seem like small potatoes. 2 days after another horse is shot, this time over in Alton, South Carolina, which feels like a deliberate distraction in hindsight.
Walter Clive himself is murdered.
Shot dead, right there on his own property in the Three Phillies exercise area. The focus shifts instantly from the horses to the owner. The prelude is over, the main event has begun.
And the connection is immediate, right? The method.
Identical to the horse shootings, which is just chillingly effective. He's found face down, shot in the forehead, just above the right eyebrow.
And the bullet.
Small caliber, almost certainly a .22, no exit wound, just like the horses.
So for the police showing up on the scene, the conclusion is obvious.
Absolutely. It looks like Clive stumbled upon the mysterious horse shooter in the act, and the shooter killed him to escape. It fits the narrative that's been carefully constructed over the past month.
It's the perfect camouflage.
Oh.
And the security setup at the time plays right into it.
It really does.
Yeah.
Get this. At the exact moment Clive was shot, there was a security South Guard on duty. But where was he?
Let me guess. Guarding Hugger Mugger.
Bingo. Explicitly assigned to stay in the stall with the prize horse. He heard the shot, but he was focused on protecting the animal, not the owner wandering the grounds.
So the security was positioned exactly where the killer needed it to be focused on the decoy target. It's brilliant in a terrifying way.
Utterly calculated. The horse attacks weren't random. They were the setup. They created the persona of the horse shooter, providing the perfect cover story for Clive's murder.
So what happens immediately after Clive's death? How does the family react?
Publicly, they buttoned up tight, presented a united, grieving front, controlled the narrative, standard procedure for people like them.
But behind the scenes,
2 crucial things happen. First, Penny steps up immediately, takes full control of the business. No hesitation, no fumbling. It's clear she was already effectively in charge, and now she just formalizes it. Shows remarkable, maybe even unnerving competence under the circumstances.
and the second thing?
Dolly Hartman, the girlfriend.
Yeah.
Suddenly, she's desperate. Why? Because she reveals to the detective the real reason she wanted him involved in the first place.
Which was?
She just found out Clive had recently removed her from his will. After 8 years together, she was cut out. Suddenly, her future is looking bleak.
Ah. So her motivation wasn't just about the horses, it was about her own financial security, which was now threatened.
Exactly. And in her desperation, needing the detective's help more than ever, she drops the biggest secret of all. The one that changes the entire investigation.
The secret about her son, Jason.
Yes. She confirms what might have been whispered or suspected, but never proven. Jason Hartman is Walter Clive's illegitimate son.
Wow. So Clive had another potential heir all along.
He did. Dolly apparently kept Jason's paternity hidden while Clive was still married to his ex-wife, Sherry Lark. But after the divorce, Dolly came back into the picture, likely hoping to eventually leverage her son's parentage.
Did Clive know or suspect?
He must have suspected, or Dolly must have pushed it, because the sources reveal that Clive, very recently, had taken steps to find out for sure.
What did he do?
He ordered a secret DNA test, used a fake name, kept it very quiet. Only Dolly and his personal physician, a Dr. Larry Klein, were supposed to know about it.
He was trying to confirm Jason's paternity without alerting the rest of the family, especially Penny and the other daughters.
Precisely. He was controlling this potentially explosive information.
And the timing of this test. This is critical, right?
Absolutely crucial. Dr. Klein confirms it to the detective later. Walter Clive received the DNA test the results confirming unequivocally that Jason was his son on May 20th.
May 20th. And when was Clive killed?
May 22nd.
2 days. Just 2 days between confirmation of a male heir and his murder.
Exactly. The motive landscape just snaps into sharp focus. The random horse shooter theory evaporates. This wasn't random. It was targeted. It was timed perfectly.
Triggered by the confirmation of Jason's paternity. The existence of a male heir changed everything.
It introduced a massive threat to the established order, to the inheritance, to the control of 3 Philly stables. The question is no longer if it was an inside job.
The question is who inside knew about those DNA results and who acted on that information with such lethal speed.
Right. So with the motive shifting firmly to inheritance and control, the detective realizes he needs to follow the money and the information. Forget the stables for a minute. How does the system work?
And first on the list is Delroy's operation, Security South.
Yeah.
What exactly is this company?
The detective takes a risk. He breaks into their quote-unquote office in Atlanta. It's just a mail drop service called Bella's Business Services, a front.
And what does he find?
Financial records. And they tell a story. Security South isn't some big agency. It's basically a one-man show. Jon Delroy is Security South.
It's all proprietorship?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And guess who's funding almost the entire operation?
Let me guess. 3 Phillies stables.
Bingo. To the tune of $250,000 a year. $250,000 annually flowing from the stables directly to Delroy.
That's a huge amount for what seemed like minimal security duties, especially before the shooting started.
Exactly. It confirms Delroy wasn't just guarding horses. That retainer was for other services. The cleanup jobs, keeping the family secrets buried.
And is there proof of who authorized the payments?
There is. The detective finds credit card receipts for expenses Delroy submitted to Security South, and they're marked, very clearly, paid. Even while her father was alive, it seems Penny was the one managing the payments to Delroy, handling the operational budget for the family's private fixer.
That's significant. It means she had a direct financial relationship with Delroy, direct leverage over him, independent of her father.
Yeah.
She was paying to keep the sty clean, as she later puts it.
Precisely. She wasn't just the dutiful daughter running the legitimate business. She was complicit in managing the dirty secrets, funding the cover-ups.
Okay, so Delroy is basically Penny's heavily paid retainer. But who is Jon Delroy, really? Is the Secret Service persona real?
Not even close. The detective reaches out to a contact, Martin Quirk, back in Boston PD. Quirk runs checks.
Yeah.
The FBI has no record of any Jon Delroy matching his description or supposed background. His military service claims? Fabricated. The whole persona is a sham.
So who is he?
Quirk digs deeper. Delroy's real identity traces back to being a disgraced police officer from Dayton, Ohio. Got kicked off the force for shaking down prostitutes.
Charming.
Then he served 3 years in prison in Pennsylvania for assault. After getting out, he apparently made a habit of scamming women. He's a convicted felon, a violent defender, and a con artist. The SS pin, the earpiece, it's all just an act.
So Penny wasn't just employing a fixer. She was employing a known violent criminal who was an expert at deception.
A disposable asset, perhaps? Someone with no real reputation to protect, entirely dependent on her money. It makes the dynamic even more dangerous.
Okay, so Penny has the motive preventing Jason from taking control. She has the means, Delroy, her paid enforcer. But the timing. Why was Clive killed literally 2 days after the DNA results came in? How did she know?
That's the million-dollar question. And Deputy Becker gets the answer, or at least a huge piece of it, when he talks to Rudy Vallone again, Clive's lawyer.
Vallone spills more details.
Under pressure, yes. He admits Clive wasn't just vaguely thinking about changing his will. The threat was specific and immediate. Clive was seriously considering rewriting the will to divide the estate financially, maybe somewhat equally.
Okay, sharing the money, that's standard.
But here's the killer detail. Clive was also planning to give managing control of the entire 3 Phillies stables operation
To Jace.
to any male issue, which, now confirmed by DNA, meant Jason. Not just a share of the profits, the keys to the kingdom, the actual power.
Okay, that is it. That's the motive right there.
Ah.
Penny, who's been running everything, busting her hump, managing the chaos.
Cleaning up after her drunk brother-in-law, covering for the other one's horrific secrets, keeping the whole thing afloat.
She was about to be usurped, pushed aside, not just lose some money, but lose control, lose her entire position and identity within the empire, all because this previously unknown half-brother happened to be male.
It's the ultimate betrayal from her perspective. All her work, her competence, rendered meaningless by biology. The resentment must have been immense.
So, motive,
Mm-hmm.
crystal clear, means Delroy. Opportunity, created by the horse shootings cover story.
Yeah.
The only remaining piece is, how did Penny find out about the DNA results and the impending will change so fast, the information leak?
And the source of that leak is just perfectly petty and human. It's a chain reaction of gossip and betrayal. It starts with Dr. Klein, the physician.
The one who handled the secret DNA test for Clive.
Yes. Apparently, Dr. Klein felt conflicted. Or maybe he just couldn't keep a secret that big.
Yeah.
He confided in a friend about the upcoming DNA test. And who was that friend?
Oh, no, don't tell me.
Clive's ex-wife.
Sherry Lark.
The woman Clive divorced, of course. She'd have a vested interest.
A massive interest, especially in preventing Dolly Hartman, her replacement, from benefiting. So Sherry now knows a DNA test is happening. She needs more info. Who does she turn to?
The lawyer, Vallone.
Rudy Vallone. Turns out Sherry and Malone had a relationship in the past, a effectual one. She reconnects, uses that old intimacy, maybe flirts a little.
And pumps him for information about Clive's plans. Exactly. And Valone, maybe flattered, maybe careless, maybe still carrying a torch, tells Sherry that Clive is indeed thinking about changing the will, specifically mentioning the part about favoring male issue if the DNA confirms it.
This is like a soap opera. So Sherry now knows about the test, and the potential will change.
And she knows the DNA results are due any day. Driven by what the sources describe as pure malice towards Dolly, she couldn't stand the thought of Dolly winning. Sherry takes the final step.
She tells Penny.
She tells Penny everything. The confirmed positive DNA result for Jason, the fact that Clive was about to change the will to give Jason control, she delivers the loaded gun, essentially.
Wow, so the murder weapon wasn't the .22 after all. It was information. Malicious gossip passed down a chain of resentment and broken trust.
Precisely. Sherry's bitterness, Klein's indiscretion, Valone's carelessness. They created the catalyst. Penny received the news that her entire world was about to be upended.
And she had Delroy on speed dial, ready to act within that crucial 48-hour window.
The whole plot clicks into place. It's cold, it's calculated, and it's fueled by decades of simmering family resentment.
So, Clive's dead. Penny ostensibly takes charge. And she doesn't waste any time consolidating her power, does she?
No, she moves fast and decisively. The first casualties are the useless brothers-in-law.
Wooden cord.
Gone. Immediately after the funeral, Penny basically tossed them. She didn't just fire them. She sent Delroy and his guys to physically evict them from the houses they were living in on Clive property.
Wow. No sentimentality there, just cleaning house.
Absolutely ruthless. It sends a clear message. The old ways are over. She is in total control now. But her control extends even further and in a much more disturbing way.
What do you mean?
It involves her sisters, SueSue and Stonie. The detective, sensing something is wrong, manages to get back to the main mansion sometime after the funeral.
And what does he find?
It's chilling. He finds SueSue and Stonie essentially being held captive. They're described as being heavily medicated on pills. Their hair has been cut short, crudely. They seem oddly disoriented.
Drugged and imprisoned in their own home. By Penny.
That's the strong implication. Penny's official story is that her sisters are overcome with grief, not capable of caring for themselves. But it looks much more like she's neutralized them, drugged them into compliance to prevent them from talking, or challenging her control over the estate.
That's monstrous. It goes way beyond corporate maneuvering. That's illegal restraint, drugging.
It shows the lengths Penny is willing to go to maintain absolute control. She's not just eliminating business rivals. She's incapacitating her own family members.
So the detective realizes the sisters are in danger.
Yes. He sees they're basically prisoners. This forces his hand. He knows he has to get them out. He actually enlists the help of the recently evicted Pud Potter.
Pud, the drunk.
Maybe getting tossed out sobered him up, or maybe he just hated Penny enough. Whatever the reason, he helps the detective get SueSue and Stonie out of the mansion.
Where do they take them?
To the only safe place they can think of. Teddy Sapp's place, the bathhouse, bar and grill. They put the sisters under Sapp's protection.
Taking the sisters away from Penny.
Yeah.
That's a direct challenge. That's basically blowing the whole thing wide open.
It's the point of no return. Penny, who had been maintaining her composure, playing the grieving heiress up in Saratoga for the races, even stonewalling the detective on Delroy's advice, she loses control of this situation.
Because the key witnesses, her sisters, are now out of her grasp.
Exactly. And Delroy realizes the detective knows too much and has now interfered directly. The detective becomes the final loose end that needs to be eliminated.
So Delroy tries to kill him.
He sets up an ambush. Classic trap on a deserted stretch of Route 20. Delroy, with a couple of his goons, armed with shotguns, looks like a standard strong-arm tactic gone wrong.
But the detective saw it coming.
He anticipated it. Maybe Teddy Sapp gave him intel, or he just knew Delroy's methods by now. He sets a counter-trap.
With Teddy Sapp's help.
Yeah, Teddy, the old ex-deputy, positions himself in the woods overlooking the road, armed with an old M1 rifle and wearing body armor, apparently.
Like something out of a movie.
The ambush fails completely. Delroy's plan backfires, and he's the one caught. The supposed professional security expert gets taken down by the detective and an old man with a rifle.
So Delroy is arrested. This must lead to the final confrontation.
It does. Deputy Becker arranges it. They bring everyone together in an interrogation room. It's like the final scene of a play.
Who's there?
Everyone. Penny, obviously. Delroy in handcuffs. Stonie and SueSue, hopefully a bit clearer-headed now. Put in cord, the disgraced husbands. Dolly Hartman, the spurned mistress. Jason Hartman, the unwitting catalyst. And the surprise guest.
Sherry Lark. The ex-wife who passed the
Or
information.
two, the entire toxic ecosystem in one room. The air must have been thick with tension and accusation.
And the detective lays it all out.
He does, walks them through the entire sequence: Jason's birth secret, the DNA test, Clive's plan to change the will, the leak from Klein to Sherry to Valone back to Sherry, and finally to Penny.
Connecting all the dots. Motive means opportunity. Right in front of everyone. How does Penny react?
According to the sources, she doesn't deny it. She explodes. But not with fear, with rage, with grievance. She finally voices that deep, cold resentment she felt towards her father.
What does she say?
Something like, "I was the perfect daughter. I ran this business, Daddy. I kept the sty clean," referring to cleaning up Puds and Cord's messes. "And the son of a bitch didn't even prefer me."
Wow. Just pure, raw bitterness.
She admits she did everything right, worked tirelessly, managed the whole corrupt circus, only to be dismissed in favor of Jason simply because he was male. She even confirms she kept Delroy on the payroll specifically for that purpose, to keep the sty clean.
And does she confess to the actual murder plot? The horse
No.
shootings.
Yes, she lays out the chilling logic. The horse shootings were entirely preemptive. They were designed to create a plausible narrative, a phantom menace, the random horse shooter.
The stalking horse strategy.
Exactly. Her plan was contingency-based. If the DNA test had come back negative, proving Jason wasn't Clive's son, the shootings would have just stopped. No harm, no foul, business as usual with her in charge.
But if it came back positive,
As it did, then Clive had to die immediately, and his death would be blamed on the horse shooter character she had already established. It was cold, calculated, and used the animal cruelty as a disposable stage setting for the real crime.
the level of premeditation is just breathtaking. So she confesses everything in front of everyone.
She lays out her justification, her motive, the whole plan. It's all out there.
Then it's case closed, right? Penny's arrested.
Here's the final frustrating twist. Delroy. They turn to Delroy, expecting him to corroborate to save his own skin.
And
He clams up, completely refuses to implicate Penny, facing serious charges himself, attempted murder of the detective, conspiracy, accessory. He just says, "I got nothing to bargain," shuts his mouth.
why? Why would he protect her like that? Loyalty. Fear. Does she have something else on him?
The sources don't explicitly say. It could be a strange code of loyalty, or maybe Penny does have deeper leverage over him we don't know about, or maybe he thinks he can beat the charges, or figures silence is his best play long term.
But without Delroy's testimony, directly linking Penny to ordering the murder and the earlier shootings.
Becker's hands are tied for the moment. He has Penny's confession in the room, sure, but it might be challenged. He doesn't have the direct corroboration from her co-conspirator needed for an immediate ironclad charge for the murder itself.
Yeah, Penny walks.
For now, yes. Becker releases her. He knows, the detective knows, everyone in that room knows she did it, and an indictment is likely coming down the line once prosecutors build the full case. But in that moment, she walks out seemingly free.
Unbelievable. She orchestrates this whole thing, confesses, and still walks away, at least temporarily.
Thanks entirely to the silence of her criminal enforcer. She won the battle, but the war might not be over. Hashtag tag tag outro.
What a story. It starts with these weird, almost minor crimes, shooting horses with a .22, and it just spirals into this incredibly dark place of murder, betrayal, and deep family pathology.
It really does.
Yeah.
And the key takeaway for me is that the initial confusion was the entire point. It was never about random violence. This was calculated corporate warfare, disguised as something senseless.
Driven by Penny's deep-seated resentment, feeling undervalued and about to be replaced, combined with her willingness to use the criminal element, Delroy, that she already had on retainer.
We absolutely have to highlight the sheer, cold brilliance of that stalking horse strategy, using the serial crime narrative, the horse shooter, as perfect camouflage for the targeted assassination of her father. The cruelty to the animals was just a tool, a means to an end.
It's chillingly effective. And the other huge factor, the trigger, was the information itself.
Right, that gossip chain, Dr. Klein talking to Sherry Lark, Sherry pumping Valone, Sherry maliciously informing Penny. That flow of supposedly secret information was the real murder weapon. Without that leak, Clive might have changed his will, yes, but Penny wouldn't have had the catalyst to act so quickly and decisively.
So Penny gets what she wanted, in a way. She seizes control of the multi-million-dollar empire she felt she deserved, but at an incredible cost.
The cost being her own family relationships, imprisoning and drugging her sisters, and ultimately her own freedom, in a sense, because the source material leaves her walking free, but completely dependent on Jon Delroy's silence.
Which leads us to that final Really provocative thought, doesn't it? Penny achieved her goal, total control of 3 fillies. But she's now tied umbilically to Delroy, a convicted felon who refused to betray her once, but who knows what the future holds.
Exactly. He showed this strange loyalty, or maybe she has some other hold over him. But can she ever truly be free, knowing her entire future, her empire, her liberty, rests on the continued silence and goodwill of a man like that?
Was that ruthless, calculated cruelty ultimately worth it? She got the power she craved, but it's a power built on a foundation of violence and secrets, entirely contingent on the silence of a criminal. A heavy price for control.
A very heavy price indeed. Makes you think about the real cost of that kind of ambition.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a truly dark corner of wealth and family.
Always fascinating, even when it's disturbing.
Until next time,
Yeah.
keep digging deep.